Recently, I've been trying to practice and apply close voicings, which are chords that are built on seconds and thirds. Most guitar chords are based off of fifths, fourths, and maybe a third here or there when it's easy to do. But close voicings, you kind of have to stretch your hand to grab these tighter clusters of notes. Because of how the guitar is tuned, some intervals like fourths and fifths are actually easier and require less stretching than the closer notes, which actually require more stretching. On piano, it's really easy to play a chord that have a bunch of notes close together. Because of how strings are tuned, it's hard to get these voicings, but they sound really pretty. You can play up the scale in chords, just 4 notes per chord, all the way up. Just like how if you're on, the first thing you learn on piano is just, press all the white notes, every other white note. But it's kind of difficult on guitar, just because of how long it takes to get your hand in position. It's not very practical. I'm doing it here, and I messed it up a whole bunch of times because I don't practice it that much. I found that through kind of 3-note chunks, 3-note little groups of those chords are more practical, and you can play them up the major scale or the pentatonic scale, and you'll get different kind of sounds out of it. Sometimes I'll play chords that are more cluster. It's one note after another, all seconds, or maybe a major second, a minor second. And then chords that are a tiny bit more open, playing that example I was showing, playing up the scale in chords, a lot of thirds, and mixing the two is interesting. Not only can you play up just the normal major scale, you can also play up something called the so-called Barry Harris 6th diminished scale, which adds a note in between the 5th and the 6th to add a flat 9 tone to the 5 chord, and it just makes the diminished chord that's in every major scale a fully diminished chord. You can also harmonize that scale using these close voicings, and it sounds really pretty. It sounds like these chords that a saxophone section play or a pianist play. And you can take this idea to then harmonize the melody of a tune. I'm working a lot on this, just using the typical guitar voicings. Sometimes people call them drop 2. I decided to work out these close, unusual voicings using the tune Embraceable You by George Gershwin, because I really like that song, and I think it sounded really pretty. And yeah, so depending on which scale you're harmonizing, you'll get totally different sets of chords. And I kind of had to break the rules. I didn't always do the next note up in the scale, because sometimes it gets really muddy, or the notes are a little too close, a little too crunchy. And also to fit different chord changes, you might have to move things here or there. It's also tricky because you can't always play the bass notes. You can't always hear the context of these chords, but if you put on like a bass track, or have a friend play, you'll really hear the beautiful sound of these chords in relationship to the bass notes. Oh, it's possible. Kind of interesting. Okay, that's a little too far. Okay, that hurts. Ow.